This is Joe Carpenter. Today is the 9th of March 2021, and I am interviewing Orlando Reyes for the first time. This interview is taking place at Orlando Reyes' office in Arlington, Texas. This interview is sponsored by the College of Liberal Arts and is part of the Maverick Veterans Voices Project. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Where are you from originally, and what can you tell me about your growing up?
Well, I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and basically my dad was in the military, and so we traveled around the world while he was in the military. And then when he was in ninth grade, he retired, and we moved back to Puerto Rico, and I graduated high school there, and then eventually ended up going to UT Arlington.
So were you an ROTC in high school?
Yes. In fact, when my dad got out of the military, he was really concerned about the schools on the island as far as their level of education. So he put me in a military academy there. So I attended Antilles Military Academy in Trujillo Alto, Puerto Rico.
I see. Okay. And were any of your family members in the military? You already said your father. Who else was in the military?
My dad, of course, served 21 years, and then my uncle was killed in the Korean conflict. And then I have several uncles that also served in the military.
And your dad was Special Forces, is that correct?
Yes, my dad was Airborne Special Forces attached to the 5th Special Force Group in Panama.
Would you say that's how you became interested in the military, was just seeing your dad and your family and what they participated in?
Yes, in fact, I actually went to college to be an officer in the United States Army, but I was, probably my dad had the biggest influence on me to go in the military. I saw, the family, we pretty much all were born in the military hospital, and,
right.
So, yeah.
So you were just born right into it.
Right, born right into it.
So why did you choose UT Arlington?
Well, actually, I was trying to get to UT.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was stationed in San Antonio, Texas, Fort Brooke Army Hospital, and when I was in second grade. And I recall always Saturday mornings watching UT football. And then me and my friends in the neighborhood go outside and try to play football, acting like we were the UT. And at that time, I decided I was going to attend the University of Texas. Unfortunately, my grades and my SAT score were not adequate. So they sent me a pamphlet saying, hey, you didn't qualify for UT, but you do qualify for UT Arlington. Mm-hmm. And so I filled out the application, got accepted, and I said, well, once I get there, I'll, make the grades and transfer. Never made the grades.
So you never transferred?
Never transferred.
And so you did obviously participate in ROTC at UTA.
Yes. Well. It probably was the best thing that ever happened to me, not transferring. I did come to UTA and joined the ROTC program, and met after my first drill, the Sam Houston Rifles did a performance, and their Sam Houston Rifles is the drill team on campus, and I just got glued in on that, and I went out for the first meeting, and next thing you know, I was becoming a member of the Sam Houston Rifles. Sam Houston Rifles was like a fraternity, just a military, on the military side. Right. So that was my fraternity in college.
Award-winning Sam Houston.
Award-winning Sam Houston Rifles. Yeah. That was another thing that really intrigued me about the Sam Houston Rifles.
Yeah, y'all were very successful during your time, weren't you?
Yes, and we very seldom lost a competition. Although I've got several Aggie friends that they don't believe me, but I keep showing them the trophies and the pictures of the trophies. So, yes.
Okay, so what was your major, and why did you choose this major?
Well, I was good in math, so when I applied for UT Arlington, I selected engineering. Mm-hmm. And after my first semester, I realized that probably wasn't going to work for me because I had to work pretty much a full-time job and go to school. Back then, everybody worked almost. I don't believe there was a member of the Sam Houston Rifles that didn't have a job. And I just, the other thing is the school on the islands, where even though I went to private school, they were a little bit behind. So when I got to college, of course, you don't realize that until you get into college. And so I had to work full time. I really dedicated myself to studies, and my first semester was a disaster at UTA. But anyway, then I changed my major to criminology, and I changed my major because my dad always told me, he says, "Hey, when you go to college, you're going to spend a lot of money getting your education. Make sure that when you get out, there'll be a job for you." So then my grandfather was a police officer, so I leaned towards criminology after that, and then, of course, ROTC, become an officer in the United States Army.
Now, within the Sam Houston Rifles and within your peer group, there are at least 2 or 3 people that you're still in contact with today that, or roommates, etc.
Yeah.
Tell me about those guys.
Well, pretty much everybody that I drew with, probably 80% of them, I'm still, still talk to them and see them on a regular basis. One thing that the Sam Houston Rifles did, and I believe it was Bunky and maybe Colonel Houston, started the Alumni Association, the Sam Houston Rifle Alumni Association, which was probably the smartest thing they ever did because it really kept us in contact with each other. Eventually, that kind of went away, and they started the Cadet Corps Alumni Association. And because the Jodies, or the Sam Houston Rifles, because of the newsletter and the Alumni Association that we had started, we just kept in contact heavily. And like I said, all my Larry Pink, Axel Martinez, Lester Simpson, I mean, every one of them, we pretty much, we talk all the time, help each other when needed. So yeah, it's more than just a casual friendship.
Right. And Andy Cano as well. And the reason why I wanted you to mention those people is because they, like you, are all in the Hall of Honor. And that's an impressive thing to have a core group of people like that, all honored in that way.
Let me say something about Andy Cano. Andy Cano was actually, there was basic 2 organizations in ROTC, 2 major ones. One was the Sam Houston Rifles, and the other one was the Insurgent Team. Andy Cano was my roommate for about a year, and he was an Insurgent Team, and we competed very heavily against each other. And to this date, he's never been able. I want to get this on the record that he's never beat me in anything. And so, but anyway, yeah, he was on the Insurgent Team, and we still became great friends, and still to this day, I talk to him. I talk to him about every other week on the phone, just
Great.
But.
And was there anybody on the faculty who influenced you?
Yeah, probably the guy that had the most influence on me, in fact, was Colonel Andre. We butted heads a little bit, but he saw something in me, and he just kept, he just kept on me. My first year was, like I said, was a difficult year for me at UTA, and it was because I was working full time, trying to go to school. I was trying to be an engineer, and I was struggling. And Colonel Andre saw something in me and just kept, he was like, he just kept, stayed on me. And eventually I graduated, got my commission when he was PMS. So, but yeah, he had the biggest influence.
So what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1979.
And were you commissioned upon graduation?
Right. I actually graduated on a Friday. Got my commission on a Saturday, and Sunday I reported to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So 3 days. You
didn't waste any time.
No, well, I had to get it done.
Right. And what was your branch and specialty?
I was an artillery officer.
And you went to Fort Sill in the beginning for artillery training?
Yes, Fort Sill. I went to Fort Sill for my basic artillery training. Then after that, I went to Ranger School. After Ranger School, I reported to Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is my first assignment, my first real assignment after getting out of schools.
And what were your duties when you got out of training?
When I got to Fort Polk, Louisiana, my assignment was a FIS, which is a fire support team. They call in artillery. They get assigned to the armored or infantry units, and they're the ones that call in the artillery when needed. Shortly after I got there, within 2 months, my company commander had a motorcycle accident, and he was laid up for about 8 months. So I became the acting battery commander as a second lieutenant.
Wow.
And I did that for about 8 months. And then shortly after that, they made me the fire direction officer for the battalion. And then shortly after that, I became a company commander. So.
Did you feel adequately prepared for all of that?
Oh, yes. I believe, I think the UTAs at the time, their program was, if you just went through the program, you were ready. You were ready for your first assignment.
And were you deployed at any time overseas?
I went to Germany. My second assignment. I came back to Fort Sill to do the advanced artillery training, and then from then on, I went to Germany to spent some time in Schweinfurt, Germany, and then they transferred to Wolfsburg, Germany, to be on the battalion staff.
And did you receive any particular cultural training or language training before you went to Germany?
Well, we got it in Germany, but it was very basic. It was just enough to count your money and when you went to a restaurant to somewhat order food, ask where the restroom was, or ask where the train station. But it was very basic. But the good thing about Germany is that most people spoke English in Germany.
Yeah, right.
So it was pretty easy to get around.
Did you ever serve in a combat role?
No, luckily I tell my kids that they always ask me if I ever went to combat, and I said, well, apparently when I was there, they were scared. Because we never got in a
Exactly. It was during the Cold War,
Yeah.
so yeah, they were. I know they were.
Yeah.
Did you ever lose anyone that was close to you while you were in the service?
Nope. The only person, not military personnel, no.
How long were you deployed?
I was in Germany 3 years, so.
Mm-hmm. And were you married during that time?
Yes.
And how did you communicate with your loved ones while you were overseas?
Well, I got to take my wife. And at the time, I had a daughter and my wife, and so they accompanied with me. About 2 months after I got there, they were able to come over. Once I got housing and all that, and so they were able to come over and spend the time with me until I left.
And you were involved in some extracurricular activities while you were in Germany?
Right. While I was in Germany and even stateside, I played on the U.S. Rugby team for many years, and then I also played on the German Rugby League.
Oh, wow.
So and they only play on Sundays, so I played on Saturdays. I played with the military side, and then on Sundays I played on German League, which that was really a lot of fun and kind of different,
It's not easy on your bones.
No, I'm paying for it now, I tell you. Usually the length that an average rugby guy plays is about 5-6 years, and I played 30 plus years.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
what kind of challenges did being away from home create for you?
well, I've never, to me, home was wherever I was. My dad was in the military, so we traveled all the time, so I was used to it. I think the longest time I ever spent in one place up until I got out of the military was 3 years. So and I was always excited for the next assignment or the next location I was going to be assigned to or place I was going to visit or whatever. So it was just part of me growing up, and I guess I got used to it or something.
Right. So how did you deal with stress while you were in the military?
Maybe I was so naive. I'm not really sure that I just did my job. I don't really, I can't, of course I was never in combat. So, I just handled what was in front of me.
Right. And how long did you serve?
Almost 8 years.
So what year did you leave?
86.
And what was your rank when you left the service?
I was a captain when I got out.
And were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yes, I was. Probably the one I'm most proud of is they call it the Honorable Order of Santa Barbara, and it's an artillery medal It's not one that you'll find in the. If you look at all the medals that are awarded soldiers, you'll know that one won't appear. It's an award that, in fact, I don't know too many officers that or too many people that received that award, and I believe I got it because when I was stateside, I was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana. We would go to the National Training Center in Fort Irwin, California, every 18 months or so. When I became the fire direction officer, I was in charge of training the fire direction officers for the firing batteries, and we would do training. And when we got to Fort Irwin, California, we actually set the standard for hits on targets, and I'm assuming that's why I got it. I was just awarded it, never knew it was coming, and that, and so and of course, like I said, I don't know too many other artillery officers that have received that award. So
it wasn't because you kept the Soviets on their side of that.
No. It was. It could have been.
Could have been.
It could have been, but.
Are there any specific experiences or people that you remember from your time in the service?
Probably I think the Sam Houston Rifles was probably one of the best experience I got before I went into the military. There we're 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and the cadre kind of let us run the ROTC program with their supervision and then the Sam Houston Rifles. And there we were at 18 and 19 years old, and we're putting on summer drill clinics for the high school ROTC, bringing in 250 cadets on campus for 3 or 4 days, training them, how they could go back and better their drill team and leadership and all that. And just doing that, just kind of, we had to organize it, set it up, invite the cadets, and that was, at the time, it was just to me it was something like, I couldn't believe that we could do that. And then in the military, and of course, one of the things that I believe you get from the military is your preparation, your planning, so that you could execute whatever you do, and that's really helped me out in civilian life. When I got out of the military, I picked insurance as the field I wanted to stay in, and it's a field that not many people are successful at. Not because they're bad salespeople, it's a time management, discipline, field. And if you're not disciplined with your time management, you don't have a sense of accomplishing missions and stuff like that. A lot of people that are, I believe, would have been great insurance and great in the insurance business just fall out, right. And so those are probably the best things I got out of the military and the ROTC program.
Did you experience any discrimination while you were in the military?
If I did, I did know it, and again, I could have been a little bit naive. My dad always told me that he said, "Listen, if somebody is discriminates you, they're the one with the problem, not you." Right. And so there might have been. Didn't bother me or didn't see it firsthand. Right.
And was there anyone you served with who influenced you?
When I was a Bravo battery commander, my soldiers probably had the biggest impact on me. I volunteered us for a lot of extra stuff because I felt I had to train us for war. We never went to combat, but I always felt that if we did, that I wanted to be ready, and I wanted my soldiers to be ready. And when a lot of other batteries and units didn't want to go in the field and all that, I was taking my battery out there, and I, at the end of my years, I apologized to them for putting them in the field so much because that affects your family life and affects, and they just said, hey, it's their exact words is nothing but a thing, sir, nothing but a thing. So.
Sounds like you had a good group of people.
Yeah.
Is there anything that reminds you of your time in the service? Any smells or music or sounds or anything like that?
Well, I'm a member of the Fort Worth Air Power Council, and our mission is to support the active military and their families. What we do is we raise about $3 million a year, and it's distributed to several organizations or even directly to the soldiers and their families. We've made car payments for them when the husband's been deployed, paid to get fences put up when the wind is blown down, you know. So I'm always involved with the military, and that all reminds me of, you know, of the time in service in the military.
On a regular basis, you're reminded of it. Do you keep in contact with anyone that you served with? I know you keep in contact with your Sam Houston Rifle / Cadet Corps friends, but anybody inside the service that you kept?
It's drilled down. You know, before when I first got out, there was probably about 10 of us, and I used to open up my house to them, and they used to come down, and we used to make a long weekend of it. But now there's just probably about 3 of us still in close contact. But yes, you know, they were all second lieutenants together, and some of us have gotten ill, some have passed away, but yes.
What veterans organizations are you a part of?
Well, I'm a part of the only organizations that, you know, I work with the Fort Worth Air Power Council, which is a veteran organization, and that's probably the only one that I'm heavily involved with.
Well, you've already mentioned going into insurance after you left the military. Is that what you've done pretty much exclusively since you left the military?
Well, when I first got out, I got in the trucking industry. I was an operations manager for Carolina Freight Lines. I believe they sold out to another carrier. After 6 years of doing that, I decided that I wanted to start my own business, and insurance was the least expensive. You know, you didn't have to put in a bunch of money for a franchise, and so that after 6 years of getting out, I started my own insurance agency.
And that was what year did you start that?
1992.
And you've been going at it ever since?
Yeah, I've been going at it ever since.
If you could do everything all over again, would you do it the same way?
No, you know, and if you had hindsight, you probably never would. And I think the people that said they would, you know, but I would probably stayed in and got, you know, a lot of my best friends, General Simpson, Colonel Axel Martinez, Colonel Andy Cano, and all them. We sit down and we get together all the time. We sit down around the fire and tell a bunch of war stories. And I probably would have stayed. I really enjoyed the military. Mm-hmm. And I probably would have stayed in for 30 years. I say 30 years, 25, 30 years, mm-hmm. 20 years at least. And I think my dad never told me, but I could see in his face that when I got out early, he was fairly disappointed. And, you know, and I had a tremendous respect for my dad, mm-hmm. and I had a great upbringing. Him and I just, my mom tells my kids that I never argued with my father in my whole life, and it's pretty much accurate. You know, that's how much respect I had for him, and mm-hmm. you know, and so I think he was really disappointed when I decided, hey, it's time to try something different, mm-hmm. and.
But probably pretty proud of your success.
Oh yeah.
After the fact, I'm sure.
Well, he said before he passed away that probably the only guy I know that could, probably is more, but this is my dad talking,
right.
That, you know, could go from a military career and turn into a successful insurance career and an agency. You know, if he had to pick somebody, it would have been me. So that made me feel pretty good.
Yeah, imagine so. How often do you return to campus?
I'm on campus all the time. I drive through it all the time. When I got here in 1974, they were building. Mm-hmm. They're still building. Mm-hmm. They've never stopped. But I drive. My office is 2 miles from campus,
right.
And so if I'm going to go eat in that general direction or see a customer, I just, you know, and it always brings back memories of us drilling down to, you know, the on campus, you know, Jody's drilling, or or the Corps cadets running through campus, in formation and all that. But I get to campus as much as I can.
So what do you think of the changes, the growth?
Oh, it's just incredible. You think they'd run out of space and another building pops up.
Right.
So yeah, it's incredible. I believe when I was going to campus, I think there were like 10,000, 12,000 students, and I think they're up to 40,000 now, or pretty close to it.
Yeah.
They say we're going to pass UT in the near future. I'm not sure. I don't know, but
how do you feel the UTA, I guess, system has treated veterans?
UTA's been wonderful to me. I've had a great experience there as a student. Every time I'm on campus, especially during the Hall of Honor, the president comes in and speaks and takes time out of his. I'm sure he's got a busy schedule, and they're all. We've had several since I've graduated, and UTA's. It's just done a great job of. Honoring their ROTC. When a lot of people were getting rid of their ROTC program, UTA stood strong.
Yes.
In fact, there used to be several ROTC programs in the area, and I believe we're the only ones still standing. I don't know if TCU's got the Air Force ROTC still.
I think that they're all affiliated with UTA.
Yeah.
In some way. They're like
right
divisions of UTA's ROTC program.
And like I said, and they could have done away with it, use that space for something else, but no, they stood strong, back to ROTC program. So,
before we finish up, I want to talk about the Hall of Honor.
Okay.
Because you were inducted into the Hall of Honor, and along with, as we mentioned, some of your very closest friends. Tell me about that experience and how that made you feel to be honored in that way.
Well, first of all, I never thought I'd be in the Hall of Honor. The fact that I was nominated and then eventually selected to, be in the Hall of Honor was probably one of the biggest honors I've had. So, in fact, I really don't have words, to say. I'm glad I got inducted while I'm alive and my kids were there, because all three of my kids and my sister, who flew in from Florida, came in, and I think they saw their dad at a different light. I'm just I get up and go to work all the time, and you just come home and pay the bills and make sure everything's done and make sure I'm at their practices and trying to stay in their ear, to try to guide them down the right path. But once I got inducted to the Hall of Honor and they got to see me, I think they, it's like my son said, he goes, "Dad, we're going to have to take you a little bit serious now," and I always tell them, because my youngest is going to OU right now. My son graduated from UT, so he kind of lived the dream that I was trying to live. Of course, I'm glad that dream didn't come through, because I wouldn't have got to meet all these great men and women. But and then my daughter went to UTA, and I always tell them, I said, I hope when you guys graduate in the future that I get to see your picture on the wall like mine's.
Right.
But
so, what advice do you have for young people entering the military today?
Well, my advice that UTA did a fantastic job of getting me ready for my first assignment. The basics was there. So I just, I said it in my Hall of Honor speech. If you just follow your cadre at UT Arlington, you're going to do fine. They do a wonderful job of getting you ready, and then it's up to you to continue to learn and dedicate yourself to the profession that you're in. And read as much as you can in your field, but the first step is going to be taken care of through the cadre at UT Arlington. They did a wonderful job of getting us ready, and it's evident by all my friends, close friends, have colonels, brigadier generals, so, and I think Colonel Andre was one of the first in a long time that's had two cadets that became generals under his watch. So
That's
it's
impressive,
yeah, that was pretty impressive. And he felt. I know he passed away last year, but that was one of the things he always talked about. So
Took pride in that.
yes.
So is there anything that you would like to add to the interview that we haven't covered so far?
The only thing I would say is, the country's changing. The attitude towards the greatest country in the world is really changing, and but the military always stay strong. We're there. So I just hope that the young generation doesn't forget the past and is prepared to put it on the line if need be in the future. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for your patience. And thank you for allowing us to do this.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.